the Italian Football Podcast.
Right, next question. Giuseppe Di Benedetto says, another couple of questions for you. I hope I'm getting them in before the deadline. Usually, look, just on this deadline thing, try to get them before Monday morning European time. So then you should be all right. One, he's got 3 points. Says, I love the podcast and the Q&A is becoming my favorite part. I love how it allows you both to just be yourselves and go off on tangents with great personal stories. Keep them coming. Grazie mille. 2, he says, rumors are spreading that Allegri might replace Ten Hag at Man United. If it happens, does he shithouse his way to Europa League Championship and get Man United back in the Champions League? I would guess this is an appointment that Carlo would approve of, since it's the EPL and not the Italian national team or Serie A. And 3,
I would love that. I would absolutely love that because it would just tick every box, wouldn't it? For me, it would get him out of Serie A. It would get him out of the Italy national team job, and he would go to like the ultimate banter club in English football, Manchester United, right now. But how well would he do? It's a difficult one. It really is a difficult one because you look at. There's a number of aspects here. Number one, the club, although obviously Sir Jim Ratcliffe has come in at the beginning of the year and he's taken over the football operations and he's still quite reasonably new into the job, and he's completely changed the structure and the upper management of the club with new appointments, transfer chiefs and sporting directors and all that. And they're still in the early phase. They haven't had a good summer market though, in my opinion, at all. But there's question marks over still kind of the competency in terms of how the club is run on a sporting level. And while that is the case, I think it's going to be difficult for any manager, because we've seen since Alex Ferguson left, every single manager there has basically failed. And yes, some of those managers have not been Man United level, like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, David Moyes, for example. But there's also been some legendary managers there. There's been Jose Mourinho. There's been Louis van Gaal, who, okay, maybe both of them were past their best when they went there. But the fact that every single manager, now it's Ten Hag, and before that there was Ragnick was in there for a while as well. The fact that every manager has failed, it can't be that every single manager is 100% to blame, can it? Or even 50% to blame. It has to be that there's obviously a bigger reason there. So the idea that somebody like Allegri can suddenly go in there with all these problems off the pitch and suddenly, resolve that, whether it's Allegri, whether it's Pep Guardiola, unless it's, I think, somebody that can literally just take over a whole club, like a Conte, for example. I just think there's too many problems there structurally off the pitch that to expect the manager to come in and suddenly change things. And, he could, I think Allegri, people know my opinion, I think he's clearly kind of like past his best. And that was shown at Juventus in the last 3 years. Despite their problems structurally and off the pitch, he could never really raise the level of Juventus. So the idea that he could come into United and suddenly raise them to the level of teams that are clearly superior in terms of how they're run and the quality of the teams. You can't say that Man United compared to Man City or Arsenal or Liverpool, I mean, they're way off those clubs. So the idea that Allegri could come in and suddenly bridge the gap, I think it's unrealistic. It's unrealistic. Whatever your opinion on an Allegri is.
I just don't see him going to Manchester United. I don't think there's any interest at this point in his career for him to go there. I think this is just nonsense, because the same. Then I saw a ridiculous rumor that Inter, Simone Inzaghi is their number one target for the middle of the season, and Inter are considering Jurgen Klopp, and it's like, I know it's a slow news day, guys, but calm down. It's not going to happen. But I still think Gareth Southgate is who they're going after, which I think is absolutely hilarious. And I hope they get him, because I don't want Allegri there. I don't want Allegri there. I want Allegri. I think he would do a good job. He would always do a good job.
He did want to move to England a few years ago, because he started learning English for that express reason before he left Juventus the first time he left Juventus, which is like over 5 years ago now. So obviously time has passed since then. He's a bit older now as well. But, so he did have ambitions to move to England. So if he did actually get a concrete offer, I think it would still be interesting to see, would he take it or not? But I think that, I don't think it's something that would work. I mean, there's been, Erik Ten Hag went to Man United, and the one thing that I think everybody expected from Ten Hag, if not the results, is that he would bring an identity. What he did with Ajax. I mean, Ajax are one of those teams that always have an identity, and they had a clear identity with Ten Hag with the way they played, wanted to dominate the game, the possession, the fast football, and offensive, expansive football. We haven't seen any of that at United. Like they've gotten zero identity. I used to criticise Allegri for having no identity. So the idea that Allegri can come in and give them an identity, I mean, in terms of offensive identity, and then Man United as well, the fans, they want offensive football. They don't want defensive football. They didn't like that, under Mourinho, and it's never really been something that the ethos of the club is to have a kind of a defensive counter-attacking coach. So I don't think that marrying well. What I do think Allegri would be good at is that he would certainly, the circus that's off the pitch, the media circus, the problems that Ten Hag and the former managers have had with certain players, the personalities, all those problems being played out in the media, whether it's Rashford or Sancho or Ronaldo before, like that wouldn't happen with Allegri for sure. That's the one thing 100% he would improve, and that they would become less of a circus in that aspect. But yeah, I don't see it happening either, but it's still fun to think about.
It is fun to think about, but I just don't see that happening. And
I do think Ten Hag is on his last legs now, because they just got hammered 3-0 at home by Tottenham, and couldn't even beat 20 in the Europa League. Sam Lammers of all people scored. I mean, it's I don't think he will last much longer.
Yeah, no, I think. I think so as well. But then again, you look at Ten Hag and he's won the FA Cup, he's won the League Cup. I mean, it's like, he's still won trophies there, which is weird.
He's won trophies, yeah. But then so did Mourinho, won trophies there, and I mean it's. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, but Mourinho was right about the problem at United. This is not the same United. That was a mess, and people expecting him to challenge for the Premier League were delusional. He never got.
But United don't have a team even close to challenging for the Premier League. I mean, their team now is a complete mess as well. I mean, their two main summer signings were a Bayern Munich backup and a PSG backup, and then the people are surprised that they don't improve. I mean, it's mad.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy. But no, I don't see Allegri there. Simone Inzaghi I'm a little bit more concerned about, because he's the kind of guy who would probably do well. He'd win the, people like him. People like his football. Players like his football. He's a guy who people enjoy. But I'm not sure if that toxic environment is good for him.
Inzaghi's surely smart enough though to not join Man United. He'd want to, if he got an offer from Arsenal or Liverpool or Man City, like, you'd understand it because they're well-run clubs and structured and everything. But
exactly.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm the same. I just don't. I mean, and also I don't want Allegri to go there. I need Allegri to stay past the presidential elections of the FIGC.
Oh, fuck off.
And I need the stress in your voice every time he's linked and Spalletti doesn't do, or Italy don't do well in one game, and he's standing there like in the backdrop looking in.
Yeah. Well, thank God Spalletti won his last 2 games. Let's hope he continues that up until November.
You know what? I do think there's an element of that. I honestly think that had it not been for the fact that Allegri was available, I'm not saying it's directly because of that, but I do think that it puts extra pressure, doesn't it? It's an added spice, an added flavor to this whole thing. You've got Allegri waiting to take over from you. You don't have a particularly good relationship with him. You've never had that. And so I think that was part of the reason why Spalletti kind of recalibrated everything. That he put himself into, because it's like the very notion of him failing at the Italy job and being replaced by Allegri, like that's the ultimate humiliation, isn't it?
He needs to exercise that demon.
So I actually think it's kind of helped Spalletti in Italy, just that stress, added Max stress.
Maybe it's given him a bit extra motivation for admittedly a bit of a irrelevant cup, but yeah, maybe a little bit if it helps.
Now that's so we need Max in the background pulling the strings. So no, I don't want Allegri in any of those meme clubs. I mean, Man United are a massive club, but as long as it's run like this, I think Jim Ratcliffe needs a bit more time to be able to sort that ship out, and I don't think Allegri would be very popular there either. They're a club who want to play a specific kind of football, and he doesn't play that football. He can handle the dynamics of a big club, but they're too much of a mess.
Exactly, I agree.
And the football they play is not the football he wants to play. He'd give them a structure, he'd give them a defensive identity, but I don't think he's the right man for where United are right now. I just don't.
No.
Just don't see that, to be perfectly honest with you. No. I'll leave Max alone. Justice for Allegri, and we need him in Italy to stress you out, just in case Spalletti does something stupid.